Well, good evening. Hello there. As some of you have noticed, a slightly different intro there. You'll see why later. Excuse me a second. There is a reason that went blue. Bit of an experiment. We'll come back to that in a bit. So, hello Majenko, Wesley, Swore Dead Insects, and G-Pin. I'm sure there are others lurking as well. There always seem to be. Hang on. As Carrot House. Sorry about that. Just for you, I shall give you a brief flash of the blue logo. There we go. You weren't missing out on much. And as for when I got ads last weekend, over the Easter weekend, they noticed I had sufficient interest that they can make money out of me. So, excellent. What can I do about this nonsense? No. Yeah. I need to tidy up, as we all know. Other reason I need to tidy up, I couldn't find the... I went to solder up another adapter for DEC nonsense to VGA. Because the one I've got is currently soldered up for the Rainbow, as we used it during the week. And I lifted a pad when I did that. So I can't put it back to VT240 mode, and I can't find the spares. They are somewhere, but they weren't in the box with all the bits for it. So anyway, so we're going to be putting up with strange coloured VT240 today, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, as mentioned, we're taking a look at System 1 today, which is my Homebrew CPU, and I should just put up the other camera. As you can see, it is a box with boards in it. So what System 1 is a machine I sort of wanted to build as an, sounds stupid, a sort of introduction to electronics sort of thing, because I'd done electronics basic stuff as a child, and then fell out of it as a teenager. And when I went to university, introduction to computer architecture lectures were very good at filling in the gaps between how to write stuff for a computer and how to actually build a computer. It wasn't a full-on computer engineering course, but it gave me enough of a sort of idea of the logic bits in there that I fancied giving it a go. So the idea for this thing started taking ad break in 1 minute. Excellent. So the idea started taking form sort of, I don't know, about a few years before I bought the house. And then once I'd bought the house, I thought, well, now I have room for nonsense. And so I started doing nonsense, and this is part of it. It is a fairly simple machine, obviously, as a first homebrew CPU. Hi Cobb, how are you doing? As a first thing, it's 32 bits, RISC-esque sort of thing, so it's basic load store architecture. But the most crucial feature is that it is bit serial, which means that it operates on 1 bit of data at a time, rather than on the 32 bits as a whole, or in sort of 4-bit chunks or whatever, as a bit slice might. So it is just circulating the 32 bits throughout. And there is a reason for that. Some of you are probably just about to go to ads, so shall waffle for a bit. But the main reason is it simplifies the wiring quite considerably, as we'll see later. Yeah. Doing nonsense is half the reason to have your own place, isn't it? So the construction technique for this, let me just pull out a board as an example. That one will probably do. This is one of the early ones, so it doesn't have very much on it. Hey, you can see through it. Cool. What is this? This is the word generator, word concatenator and for generator. Sorry, Carrot House. Hang on, I shall just wait for this ad break to clear, and then I can address the people who are currently being subjected to ads. Yeah. So yeah, a swarm of dead insects. I don't know if you are still with us, or if you're in an ad break. But yes, Usagi's UE1 is indeed 1 bit, but that is actually 1 bit. So, come on, we're almost done with the ad break. So, yeah. So, Carrot House smells of Old Spice. Right, okay, this is good to know. Yeah, so the UE1 is 1 bit because it is actually a single bit computer. It can only operate on 1 bit. Whereas this one is bit serial, so it is 32 bits, it does carry and all the rest of it, so you can work on 32-bit quantities. It just happens to process it 1 bit at a time, which means it has about 100 clocks per instruction. But the trade-off was worth it. So, welcome back, Carrot House, Wesley, and anybody else who was subject to ads there, and hello, Chloe. I do apologise for the ads. I have it set to no pre-roll. That's why it's running 3 ad breaks an hour of 1... Is it 3 an hour? Maybe it's 2 an hour of 1.5 minutes. Because if you've got 3 minutes of ad in the hour, then they let you turn off pre-rolls, and I have, in theory, done that. So you shouldn't have got any when you joined, and the first one should be about 5 minutes into the stream, which is the one that's just happened, to make sure that it doesn't run during the intro. But I'm going to try and move it to run during the intro. But anyway, it's Twitch being Twitch, I'm afraid. So yes, the bus is indeed serial. It has 3 internal buses, A, B and R, and they are 1 bit wide. So, take an example, this card. I need to find a better solution. There we go. Doesn't do much. It generates a constant stream of the number 4, which can be switched on to the A or the B bus, because we need the number 4 occasionally. And it also takes the B bus, delays it by 16 bits, and then joins it onto the back of the A bus, so that you can take 2 16-bit words, for instance immediate fields in an instruction, and join them together into a 32-bit word. So that's what that does. But the reason it is bit serial is because this is the construction technique. It is point-to-point wired using soldierable enamel wire across the entire thing. And I didn't fancy doing that for 3 32-bit buses because I am not, contrary to popular belief, a complete and utter lunatic. Hi Matt, how are you doing? And hello Spies as well. So it's a busy evening here. So let's go through the card cage and we'll show it off. We've seen that one. I don't usually do this from the side, but there is a camera in the way of doing it from face on, so we shall make do. So we'll start at the far end with the main register file. So it has 16 general purpose registers, and it has a support bracket which is falling off, which we shall attempt to put right. Come on. Nah. Well, that's going to cause fun. I'll put that right in a second. So the registers are made up of these individual boards, which just have 4 8-bit shift registers and a mux to allow it to be either recirculated or overwritten. Some of you might be getting flashbacks to Majenko's MFM drive design thing from yesterday and Monday. But yeah, so there are 16 general purpose registers and 2 program counters. So the 2 program counters are so that it can, upon the arrival of an interrupt, immediately drop what it's doing and switch to the other program counter. So it saves the requirement to have a hardware stack or anything like that for interrupt handling. I do apologise, this has gone horribly wrong. I should not have disturbed that, but I shall just fiddle these back into place so they can go back in the machine. Without the support bracket, these registers flap around alarmingly, and that does not do good things for reliability. Well, in general, reliability is not really the watchword around here, as you have probably noticed, but it's even worse when the registers are physically loose in the sockets. There we go. So on the back you might be able to see the wiring technique a bit better there. This, where my thumb is, the 16 registers are all coming down to the data selectors for which go on the A and the B bus, and for the write selector for which one's getting updated. We also have this rather unfortunate bodge job, and that's what happens when you don't notice that one of the chips in your design is only available in 0.6 inch dip, and you built the board with 0.3 inch dip sockets for them because you weren't paying attention. So then you have to build a strange little thing to work around that. So, register file. Next important thing in any CPU design is the ALU. So that's doing all the maths in the system. It can do your additions and your subtractions, and it can do increment decrement by 1, which I think someone was asking about in the chat just now. I shall have a look. Oh, no. Cobb wanted 2s. No, it can't create a constant string of number 2s, thank you, and I'm not going to add a redeem for that. I walked right into that trap, didn't I? Oh, hello Lux, good to see you, how are you doing? Majenko, pre-roll ads only get stopped after your first ad break, so you still get... Oh, right, okay. Well, that's exciting, isn't it? So what I have to do is change the first ad delay to about 1 minute so that it happens during the intro. Yeah, okay, right, I shall do that for next time. Lex, yes indeed, this is my Homebrew CPU nonsense. just catch up briefly. 32-bit RISC design, so load store architecture, entirely bit serial and entirely done with point-to-point wiring on 0.1 inch proto board. So exciting. I don't know what you absolute reprobates are doing in chat. But anyway, so yeah, ALU has your addition, subtraction, increment, decrement by 1, and it has the usual bitwise operations and or XOR and NOT, I think, on that one. The way that works is there's a single carry register on there, so as it's working through the 32 bits in serial, it remembers the carry for the next loop round, so it's a full adder in basically 1 bit wide design. So that amazingly mostly works, and we'll get to the mostly later. This one is what turns it from a calculator into a computer. That's the flags register. And condition evaluation logic, so it's watching the data coming out of whatever is currently driving the result bus. 1 second. And is keeping track of whether that result is 0, negative, or whether there was a carry, and then exposes those 3 condition bits for the jump instructions. Handy dandy block diagram. I do not, unfortunately, Matt. I really should have thought about doing that ahead of time, shouldn't I? I mean, hi Remdogcat. Yes, quite a few familiar names, aren't there? But there are some that aren't. There are some that aren't. Block diagram. Yeah. As some of you might have noticed, I've known Matt for many years on IRC, and he is one of a few people who occasionally ask me when I'm going to bother to update the build log for this thing again, because it's currently stuck sometime in 2017, I think. So I will get around to that at some point, at which point I should probably draw up some nice diagrams and such like to go with the actual system documentation and such like. So where were we? That was flags. That one is for the 4 generator again, isn't it? Yes, don't need that. We've seen that. Yeah. And now we get on to the meter thing. This one should be... Oh no, this isn't the meter thing. That's the shifter. So it can do arbitrary shifts of up to 32 bits, shifts and rotates left and right. And it can also do signed and unsigned extraction of a field. So if you have a bit field in the middle of your word, you can tell it I need sort of bits 7 through 15 sign extended, and it will give you the 32-bit word corresponding to that. It's constant time, I think. I don't believe there are any cases where it has to hold the execution up to finish the shift, which is nice, but it is vaguely slow and involved quite a bit of unpleasantness on the back, but vaguely slow. It's the slowest operation in the system. Second slowest operation in the system, the slowest being a memory load, if the memory is slow. So back in the back plane with that. The back plane, by the way, is just a commercial off-the-shelf thing from Vero, which I found on eBay. And it almost fit the chassis but didn't quite, so I had to trim a couple of millimetres off the top and bottom, which exposed the copper on the power layer, so that needed going over with, I think it was nail polish in the end to re-insulate it. So the chassis is not custom, it is reclaimed. It was from a piece of communications equipment from Cray. I don't know whether it's the same Cray or a different Cray, but it definitely has copyright Cray on some of the boards that were in it. But unfortunately the boards weren't laid out in a way that I could use. It was just a very handy 3U case to fit these boards with the backplane and have some room over here for peripherals and memory, which we'll get to later. So here's the actual meter thing. the instruction register and control unit, and that's in charge of, it gets fed the instruction word on each execution cycle. I'm just looking at the Capton tape on the back and wondering where that came from. So yeah, it loads the instruction word. It's in charge of decoding it and then connecting all the various functional units and the buses together correctly to make sure the instructions are executed according to the program. So for instance, for an ALU operation, the top 4 bits of the instruction say ALU operation. The next 4 bits are a sub-op code, which is just put on the bus for the ALU to read and know that it is, for instance, an addition or an XOR. And then this card is in charge of putting the source and destination register addresses on the bus for the register unit to pick up, and then connecting the A and B buses. No, sorry, connecting the ALU output bus to the R bus so that it can go back into the registers. So that one is kind of critical, and that one is what embodies the entire instruction set. So I have been thinking about adding a new instruction, but unfortunately that will mean making a change to that board, which may or may not be feasible. I have to look at that. This board is a clock board, yes. So we have a crystal oscillator there. The crystal can be popped out. It's currently a 4 megahertz crystal. Yeah. And that can be divided down by 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, etc. Using these jumpers, you can pick up to two frequencies there. This header goes to a board I haven't yet built that goes on the back panel to let you change the clock speed. To split between those 2 frequencies that are set on the jumpers, or a external clock or a variable clock so you can put it into blink and lights mode. We'll get to that, Cobb. So I knew someone was going to ask. This connector here is for the logic analyzer, so that covers all the signals on this board so that I can check the clock and which phase of the execution cycle the machine is in, for easier triggering of stuff. And I just noticed all the chips on this are upside down, which is exciting. But yeah, so that logic analyzer connection is quite handy for debug. Of course, with the board in the chassis like that, you can't really get to that connector, which is where this comes in. So you can pop that on the end, and you got yourself an extender board. So then you can get access to that connector for nonsense purposes. Back in its cubby hole. This board is the front panel connector or controller. That's in charge of letting the machine actually run or single step, as well as feeding all of the data in the system to the front panel. So the front panel can select a register to look at, whether that's the probe and counter or one of the 16 general purpose registers, or either of the 2 on the memory controller, which is not in the case at the moment. It can display the value in those registers and let you deposit values in there. You can single step, and you can configure breakpoints on either a match or a mismatch of the selected register against the front panel switches. So we'll come to that later. But this is the controller logic for that. 2 connectors run up to the front panel, and without that the machine basically sits in halt all the time. So what we'll do actually, while I think about it, is put the cables for that in. They're around here somewhere. The front panel is around here somewhere. So we'll attach these cables so that I don't forget and have to come back and do it later. And then finally we'll have the memory board, or memory controller board, which is up here somewhere in this stack, which is on the bottom. It's the one that's upside down for No, it's not. It's also on the top. So that is the memory controller with data and address and control buses. So this is actually 32 bits wide. It supports 32-bit wide loads from memory, and then either 32 or 8-bit writes. So it has individual write strokes for the 4 sub-bytes. There's an interrupt facility on there, and there are wait states. So memory or any other peripheral on the system can say, hang on, I'm not ready yet, and it'll just insert wait states into the read portion of the instruction cycle, or the memory access portion of the instruction cycle. It'll insert wait states until it's done. Yes, around here somewhere. I found the pie dish. You know this. It was in a shopping bag in the living room. It made perfect sense at the time. So the memory controller hooks up to the memory bus, which is currently this stack of boards. It will grow. Honking great dustbin on that. So let's get these out, and I shall go through these. And in case you're wondering, yes, I am killing time with the Grand Tour, because there is currently only one piece of software for this machine. Well, it's not so much let me speak, Matt, as sort of I'm not ready yet, sort of umming and ahhing. Right, so we have RAM board, 2 banks of 2 megabytes each. So these are Alliance Semi 512K by 8 SRAMs. SRAMs because, again, there was absolutely no way I was going to try and do DRAM on my first design. So it can be moved about in memory in case I want to add any more. And there is also a jumper here to switch this empty bank between being the second bank of RAM and the first bank of ROM. Which didn't prove to be hugely useful, but might be in the future. There's the ROM board, which currently has 4 prototyping ROMs in there. What are those? There's no way those are 512K by 8. Oh, they must just be 512K, but okay. So again, 2 banks in case I want to put a second pile in at some point once these are finalised, and then there's a toggle to switch over which one is the first and which is the second bank, so once I'm done with prototyping. Again, it can be moved throughout memory space with dip switches and configured for different size ROMs as needed. The other board on the memory bus is this one. Now we also have our first appearance of surface mount in the thing with a little bodge board hiding there, and some rainbow dip switches, because rainbow dip switches are best dip switches. And this is the I/O, peripheral I/O board. It has the 6 slots for peripheral devices to be connected using a bus which has 8 data bits and 4 register selection bits. So you can have 16 registers, 8-bit wide transfers. Again, the wait signal is there and the IRQ, so peripherals can interrupt the system or tell it to wait when they're busy. There is also an ID pin so that you can plug anything in anywhere and software can query it and figure out where everything is, which is quite handy. Down here is a parallel ATA or IDE connector, into which can be plugged a compact flash card and an adapter. That does actually work. I haven't written any software for it yet, but I've written some test software for it yet, and it did work. I just haven't written any actual software to do anything with it. So yeah, that's the data bus, or the memory bus. So let's get those all back on and into the case. This is vaguely tricky. So I think we want to probably add... no. Put the ROM and the RAM... if I was trying to attach it to the right end of the board, wouldn't it? ROM and RAM boards on, and then the peripheral board there at the end of the chain, just so that I don't have anything dangling. I don't know whether it makes any huge difference, but it was giving me some trouble last night, so might as well try and stay roughly in a known working configuration. And then that goes on to the and we need that one. So this is where it gets a bit fiddly. Memory board goes in, or controller board goes there, and then these go into these slots here, if they can be convinced to slide in neatly. There we go. Need some. There we go. Sorry, I was just trying to catch up with chat at the same time as doing this, which was not going hugely well. So I shall pay attention to chat in a second. So there we go, and then that one plugs in to the backplane. Right, sorry, where were we with chat? Matt, no, actually, I wanted to go the exact opposite, so that things could work wherever they wanted. There is an advisory memory map, which I forgot to pay attention to when I was building the ROM board, which is why the start address is currently a bit weird. But in theory, anything should be able to be put anywhere in memory at once, and the peripheral boards can be interrogated to work out where they are in memory, so that the boot ROM doesn't have to be programmed with things like serial board addresses. And speaking of which, that is the serial board for the thing. It doesn't yet have a label attached, I've just noticed. I'm trying to settle on a good name for it. It's not quite a UART, because although the baud rate is adjustable to, I think, from 19.2K, 9K6, 4K8, etc., down to, I think, somewhere below 1200, anyway, 300 perhaps. It is always 8N1. It can't be anything else. So I'm thinking somewhat hardwired asynchronous receiver transmitter, or SHART, but UART, IART, we all art for ICE-ART. Yes, IC Carrot House, that might work. Same joke, just done as a trap. Excellent. So yeah, this has connection to the system through that peripheral board, and then 25 and 9 pin connectors on the back. So we want the 25 pin at the moment, so that's there. How am I going to do this? I am going to do this by looking for a shorter cable. No. I'm sure I saw one here earlier. Never mind, we shall use the obnoxiously long cable. Sorry, I was too close to the mic there, I'm sure. So that end there. put that end there. And we should, in theory, be able to slide this up here. Doesn't like that. It's snagging on the strain relief on the connector. There we go. So that goes there and should arrive out the other side so I can connect that up. There we go. Okay, so that's all the boards in the system. We just need the front panel and adds in 20 seconds. Right, let's see. Ramdog, the chassis, I don't know what else there might be. It's not a standard bus, this is entirely my own, but it is. The backplane is a repurposed VME J2 backplane, if that helps. A VME bus is one defined for, I think, the 68K, and the J2 was effectively a general purpose bus with not much on it. Hi, Purple Jude Beans, good to see you. How are you doing? So the J2 one was basically a few signals bussed through the whole lot, and then you wired up the rest as you needed, and that's what I wanted, so I bought one, and that worked fine. The connectors are DIN 41612, if that helps, and they are wonderful, and I have a big box full of them because I love them. And we have this board on the top, which I think is the reset circuit, which has fallen off. It was it's supposed to go on that board that I haven't yet built for the back with the clock selector, but as I said, haven't yet built it, so that was temporarily hooked up to the backplane and has fallen off at some point in the couple of years since I last used anything. Yes, they're exactly the same connector, Swarm of Dead Insects. And we're in an ad break, so what I shall do is I shall get the front panel and we'll hook the front panel up and we'll jump scare anybody who's in ads at the moment. Where are the... Well, I have the front panel. It's supposed to have a couple of stands to sit on so that I'm not balancing it randomly on... There it is. I managed to knock them off the table earlier. So, front panel. Actually, we need those, don't we? And that's how I managed to drop it off the table earlier. They just fall loose off the end. So we'll wait for the ads to finish and then we'll go over this in a bit more detail, come to think of it. So, there's the front panel with lots of switches on it and 3 discoloured switches, which I'm not happy about. I shall have to do something about that. They've discoloured in the sun. So, we can look at the back. That's the lamp and switch bank for a 32-bit wide register I/O. Register selection switch, hideously expensive BCD or binary 16-position switch hiding behind there. Behind this is the front panel interface board, so not the controller board, just the interface, and this takes care of synchronizing button presses so that you get nice synchronized square waves in the digital domain rather than horrible analog nonsense. So all the debouncing happens here, synchronization. State machines for various options on here, like which of the breakpoint modes is enabled, if either, whether it is automatically advancing, or it handles automatically advancing addresses if you're reviewing memory or entering data into memory. And then that's about it for that one. we'll get this hooked up. We have two over on this little board on the end here behind my wrist. We have the power indicator and the up dog indicator, which is a fun one. Put that one there, and that should be, hopefully, everything we need. So we'll put in these little stands. I mean, obviously, usually it bolts to the front of the machine, but for debugging purposes and such like, it is nicer to have it. Let's see if we can turn that. No, we can't, and those cables are going through a really awkward location, so let's move them. Yeah, that should be better. And if we do that, yeah, there you go, you should have better contrast on the lights. So, I think retrobite is an option. I might just buy 3 replacements though, we shall see. High percentage peroxide Chloe. I think I bought the highest I could buy when I made up some retrobrite gel a while ago, so diluted it down, mixed it in with the xanthan gum and the oxy catalyst and all the rest of it, and I used it on the monitor that I was building, the VDU controller for this. I was using an old MDA monitor from Samsung as the test monitor. And it needed a thorough cleaning, so I thought I'd give it a retrobite at the same time. So I did that a few summers ago, and then I've managed to lose the bottle of retrobite. There's half a bottle of gel somewhere. So, not good. Right, so that's all hooked up. We have power, we have serial through to the VT240 under the table. Let's see what happens if I'm going to have to reset it manually because the reset circuit is disconnected, but here we go. We should have lights on, so let's bring up the VT240. Well, it might have gone to ground in the garage, which is where I was doing the stuff, or it might not. It could be in the photographic chemicals box in the spare room. I shall have to go through that at some point. So, how's that looking for contrast, folks? Can you see the terminal okay and still see nonsense in the background? Actually, one thing we could usefully check are all the LEDs on the back plane. Yes, they are. Those LEDs on the back on the cards in the card cage only light when they are in the correct slots, because the wiring on that is custom to each slot. I can adjust the transparency if needed. Let's try. Oh, hang on. This is still on. Slightly lighter one from. From the other day. That might be better. So yeah, you can still just about see the LEDs on the system. So if we deposit the start address in the program counter, yep. So it's 8040000, which is the first byte of ROM. Actually, let's quickly go through the front panel before I do that. So main control here, reset, stop, step and start, with status LEDs obviously. Manual interrupt key for interrupts from the front panel. down here we have the breakpoints. So stop on match or mismatch, so you can turn those on or back off. Simple state machine behind those. So what that does is when whatever register is set here, it's always comparing the data being displayed to the switches, and if they match then it'll stop, or if they're not the same it'll stop, depending on how you've got that set. So that's very, very handy for debugging. Not as handy as you would think. There is a minor bug in that a conditional jump, you can't, if you try and stop on the word after a conditional jump to do not taken, then it will always stop at the jump because of the way the evaluation works, which is a bit of a pain, but apart from that it works very nicely. Register deposit, so for sticking data into the registers. Memory control here, read and write, so you can set a memory address and read and write what's there, with advance just adds 4 to the memory to get to the next word, to the memory address get to the next word, and in certain modes the lamp comes on there to tell you it's in automatic advance. So we're currently set to viewing the PC. If we view the registers, we can again deposit something in a register and select any of the 16 general purpose registers. I don't think that the boot ROM actually cares what any of those are set to, but whatever. Memory register, so if we want, sorry, that's memory data, so memory address. If we stick that first word of ROM in memory address and press read, nothing happens. But if we go back to the data register, that is now the first word of ROM being displayed. We can go to memory review, and then we can step through ROM and read it a word at a time if we wanted. And memory deposit is the same thing, or memory entry, same thing, except if we started at address 0, we can deposit, and now we'll be at the next address in theory. Right, so it's showing us the current address on the top, so we're at address 4, and we can put something in there, so 8, 8, 8, 4, 4. Pick something completely at random. So if we do write, and then if we went back to review from address 0, that switch is being annoying. There we go. Read from there. There's the data we put in, and you can again, you should be able to read through, and that's interesting. But yeah, you should be able to step through memory that way and see what's in there. But anyway, we'll set the PC as we already were, and if we press start, we should in theory see something show up on the terminal. And we do not. Why do we not? Start, stop, deposit. I did say in theory, because I know how these things go. Let's kill that power first, and we'll pull this. Maybe I've got. That would probably not help. I'm going to pull the serial board out on the grounds that it's been a while since it's been in the case like this. And I think since it was last in there, I've actually moved some card slots around to make room for the next phase of the project. So let's check that's in there okay, and is that keyed or not? That is not keyed. Splendid. So let's put that there. Where's that stopping? 804. 80421C. 80421C. Where's my other laptop which has all the source code on it? Bear with as I kick the Extron. Less bootrom.bin.sim. Where are we at? So 21C. C, it is currently waiting for the serial port to become available. So it's found the serial port, it just hasn't... it's in handshaking mode for some reason, which it shouldn't be. COM modem control. I don't have enough room to mount the cards horizontally, Majenko. The VT240 isn't unwell, my adapter for it is unwell. It's currently wired for the Rainbow. And when there was the cable I was looking for earlier. And when I was working on that, swapping that over on Tuesday evening, I lifted the pad so I can't put it back the way it should be. Bootrom.asm. Let me just see what is going on here. So serial init. So by the time we get to print loop, load byte from R0. Are we in print wait or are we at print? Yeah, we're in print wait, so well, it is just a board from JLC, and I've reworked it many times as I've been working on the VT240 and the Rainbow, so it was probably feeling a little tired. Right, let me just see what I can do here. Let's try and revive this one moment. That comes out. Let's try... No, I do need that longer cable, otherwise it's never going to fit, so... Okay, I'll try again. Stop. So where are we? We're at 214. Let me turn that off so you can see. So we're definitely at ROM address 214 there. So that's 214. we are in a print, oh yeah, print wait, so that is waiting for can we send the byte to the serial board? So the serial board's buffer is full and the VT240 isn't, but I'm fairly sure it's supposed to start up with handshaking disabled for obvious reasons. So register B should contain the base address of our serial board. And that's A. So yeah, we're at 8, all the zeros, 6, 0, 0, which is slot 6 on the peripheral board. So it has found the serial board. And we need to configure it for... so we want to read from register 1, which will be there. And we, right, okay, so we should be seeing a configuration register there. And that should contain 1A. 1. Let's try putting 1A into it. Data, right, and then read back. And now we get 1A back, so that's good. So if we hit start, we got a corrupt character on the VT240. I wonder... Oh, this is exciting stream content, isn't it, folks? What time is it? It is 7 o'clock. Let's just pull the I/O board out. Maybe that is unhappy about something. A bit too much rework on here for my liking because of that bodge board on the top, but such is life. That was just to correct an issue with, well, two issues, but one of them was reading the config switches on this board wasn't working reliably because I messed up and tried to use a pull-up with a a diode, or got the pull-up on a diode all wrong. Right, okay, that's... Actually diagnosing this properly with tools is going to be beyond the scope of this evening's stream, I'm afraid, because I do not have room to set up on the table. No, that does look... Yeah, as expected, so... Okay. The memory control bus wasn't connected particularly securely on the RAM board. That might have upset it. So let's try again with that's firmly connected this time, and this one. There, and right, and put that up there so there's no danger it's shorting against anything. And we'll try again. Let me just put the VT240 back to normal and deposit PC. Put the right program counter in, that would help, wouldn't it? Yep. Well, there's some progress. What else could be happening here? Yep, it's definitely the right way around. Reset, deposit. Right. It's dinner talk at a time of the evening, is it? I suppose it is at 7 o'clock. Oh, I'm just trying to work out what on earth I can do from here, to be fair. Well, let's try writing some to the serial port by hand and seeing what happens. Deposit start. Stop there. View register. So that is... address read. Yeah, it's not writing to the configuration register on the serial card where it should be. So that's the correct address for it. So 800000610 is the configuration on the serial card because it's in slot 6. Well, let's just check that actually. Let's put it in slot 5 and see what happens. Reset. Right, same error. Or same failure. And yeah, it's now identified that it's in slot 5 rather than 6. So it can read from the card, incoming ad break, yeah, so it can read from the card because it can find the ID byte. It just can't write to it. So let's try deposit. Oh, that's interesting. Because the data register deposit read. Why have we got a high bit set on that read? So let's try putting the correct config bits in there, which are 1A. And we can now read it from there. Yeah, so we can read quite happily. And if we can... Oh! Wow! Ha! Well, that's interesting. So it skipped the first line of text from the bootloader, or from the boot ROM, but it now appears to be running. So while people are enjoying ads, Jeepin, it could be a bus wiring fault of some sort, loose connection. It can't be faulty RAM because the bootloader doesn't depend on RAM for any of this. The only thing it's doing with RAM at this point, yeah, the only thing it's doing with the RAM at this point is counting it. And the fact that we get 2048K present means that it found the correct amount, so that count went okay. But we now need to get back to because we are now in thoroughly the wrong place, because this is trying to just read random binary into memory, which is not what we wanted. What we wanted was to run forth. So let's try again with a cold boot. How peculiar. It's as if it's failing to stop to turn off handshaking. Anyway, we'll go back to 5.1 deposit read And put the correct config bits in again. Deposit right. So if we're all back from ads, let's see what we can do. Welcome back, Chloe, and hi, Ox Malvi. What this is my Homebrew CPU, and it is currently misbehaving. We are trying to get it to boot, and it is doing weird stuff, and maybe if I press start it'll actually do something this time. Bare bones. Well, if there was one word in the entirety of the ROMs it was going to print and then die on its backside, that was going to be it, wasn't it? Okay, let's stop. Let's go back and read the is the config register still what we expect it to be? Yes. Where is I forget where the status register is. It's probably at 2. Initialize boot read. Oh, it's at 3 is transmit ready. So let's see whether it thinks it's free to transmit at the moment. So we change that 1 to a 3 by flicking that way. Right, it thinks it's clear to transmit, so it should be running. So okay, we get to single step through the ROM. Right. So can't put that laptop there to be in the way of the face cam. We are at 214 slash 214 is print weight. So that should be loading from R3. Let's see. R2 contains. Aha. Aha. Right. Well, that won't help. It's lost the value in register 2, which is the address of the transmit ready. See, that is register 0 has something or other in it. Register 2 should be the address of the transmit ready flag, and it's not there. So 800000530 deposit. So now if we step there, why is it? So we are at 22. Oh, we're in a delay loop. Start. Got a bit further. We've got V0. I think I know what this is. There we go again. So if we deposit. Oh! Stop. Deposit. I think register 2 might be loose. Which is certainly something you can hear. in nonsense streams like this. Stop. Yeah, it keeps zeroing. One 188. What's 188? (188 kilobytes of base memory present). Well, that's not right. It should be 2048. Press F for fourth in. Yeah, why? Okay, so what we can do is we can say break on mismatch. So that in theory it will automatically stop when that gets to that point, or when it clears that reading raw bytes into memory stuff. Yeah, okay. Well, at least we know it's a register file issue, so we can do something about that. We can pull the register file out and inspect it. And this is what happens when I say earlier in the stream that without this support bar there are reliability issues as I reinstall the support bar. Obviously not very well. Let's pop those four. The good thing is these boards are entirely interchangeable, so I can pop the program counter and the last two general purpose registers out quite happily just to get this installed properly, which of course you didn't see because I was below the camera. Anyway, rest assured that this is fascinating and not at all dull and fiddly. Okay, this is annoying. Cobb, yes, good point. While I'm fiddling with this, I shall elucidate on that previous comment. So yeah, as I said, it's currently got a 4 MHz crystal in there, and it will run at 4 MHz, which is better than my target. My target was to get it to at least 1. So I was pleased with that. The problem is at 1 it does take quite a while to do stuff. At 4 it's a little bit faster. Any math whizzes in the chat might be able to tell me how much faster, but suffice to say, a bit faster, a bit more practical. I tried fitting it with a 12 MHz crystal and dividing that down, and it doesn't work at 12 at all. But at 6 it mostly works, but it somehow lost the ability to subtract, which is a shame because it uses subtraction during boot to work out where it is, or to locate the I/O boards and such like. So it just crashes with a no I/O board installed because it can't find one. That's shown as an error code in the E register for error. So I need to work on figuring out why that is. It's obviously a timing issue of some sort, but I've checked and the signal's all... Oh, you son of a... The signals all look good. It just doesn't work properly. So I have no idea what's going on with that, but it's on the to-do list to examine. do bear with me, folks. I apologise for this. It is obviously sent to try me today. So that one in there, and then finally this one here. No, it's having absolutely none of it. This sort of comb arrangement was originally designed to be 3D print that was designed to be stuck down to the board and hold the registers upright from below, but it doesn't actually work like that, so it turned out to be more useful on the top here. But as you can see, it's more of a pain than anything else. Come on, in you go there, and that last one. Hooray! We finally have... Why has it gone so dark in here? I'll turn the light on 1 second. So finally have that support bar back in place, and maybe that'll convince Register 2 to believe itself. While I get the lights. There we go. So let's see what happens. Did I leave the terminal up all that time? Brilliant. Okay, so if we press start... No. Why? Why? Register 2. No, I think I'm going to have to call this because it is obviously not 10530. Yeah. Oh, well, now it's not even taking the value from there. Okay, I think I'm going to call this until I can figure out what on earth has gone wrong since last time I fired this up. So apologies for that. You saw it was actually running some code. Intermittently. It was running some code and spitting out some stuff, just refusing to work now, so I shall... It was working at 5:30 this afternoon with Jenko when I plugged it into the VT240 to test. My fatal mistake appears to have been pulling all the fucking cards out to show. The video card, if you haven't seen it, not easily. It is in a box down there somewhere. I shall come back to that another time, Cobb. But yeah, so things I was going to come back to and pick up on. We've done the clock speed, so at 6. Need to work out why the 6 megahertz isn't working, and the blue for the intro and holding slide. The reason that's blue and not red is that I wanted it to match an infill highlight colour, for text on the panel. The panel was by Schaefer AG, who's sent me this T-shirt because I shared a picture of this on socials, and they have a T-shirt. Keep talking for a while because Majenko can't stream for a bit. Okay, well, I'll keep talking until I run out of things to say, and hopefully by the time I run out of things to say, Majenko will be streaming. So yeah, the info, they can print any colour you want. When I started designing this front panel, they couldn't do print at all. It would have had to, I got a screen print and get to do it by hand. But then they were doing digital print. I could put any colour you want there, but I wanted it to match the infill, and it would have been another sort of, I think it was €90 or something to get a custom infill colour to match the deck red. So I went with the blue because I like the blue. So that's why I changed the intro animation to be blue. I'm thinking I might use that for any System 1 stream so that it matches that. But I kind of like the red branding for the general normal streams. So yeah, let me know what you think, whether I should theme the System 1 ones in blue or not. Upcoming stuff. Going to start the RC 2014 build on Tuesday. Matt, yes, exactly. It's a strange combination, that one. There's a board interposer board sitting underneath the keyboard in my IBM typewriter upstairs, which has the Balge logo in an IBM style instead. Maybe we'll look at that sometime. I'd probably destroy the entire house if I tried, the way things are going. But yeah, Tuesday RC 2014 build, and then onwards from that depends. I've got some stuff lined up to look at. Whether it's here in time, I don't know. We'll see. We'll come back to System 1 once I figure out why it's being a pain, and we can actually demonstrate it running some useful code. We'll try booting it into 4th. Actually, bear with me 1 second. I'll go and get a couple of things to show off while we wait for Majenko to be in a position to take over. Cobb has already mentioned the graphics board, and there is another one, so bear with me. This is too big for the camera. Hey. There is a keyboard for System 1. And it obeys the same rules, design rules, as the rest of the system, which is that there is no programmable anything on there apart from the boot ROMs. It has a entirely 7.4 series keyboard controller, which scans the matrix and queues up. There's a 16 event FIFO of key up, key down events directly read out through this port, which should... It's not pin compatible with the ones on the I/O board because I designed it in a hurry and I'm an idiot. But it should be a fairly straightforward wiring adapter to get between the two. One thing I need to build is the... Yes, extra F keys. Lots of extra F keys and the macro pad over there. I need to build the proper adapter to include a timer for auto repeat. USB. Oh, USB versions with black PCB now, is it? Blimey, don't ask for much, do you? Negotiations with my brother over his woodworking assistance did not go well, let's put it that way. It would not be cost effective. But yeah, so I need to build an adapter to hook this up to the system, and then we can write a keyboard driver for the 4th once we get the 4th running again. And then it is the graphics card, which I shall fetch. That's a floppy drive. And here we have a breadboard full of nonsense and two PCBs, and the PCBs are a consolidation of two other breadboards full of nonsense, and they implement a 720 by 350 bitmap and text graphics adapter. So it scans out to an IBM MDA or Hercules compatible monitor, which is this top board. That's the scan out board. So it's reading 16-bit wide slices of video RAM and serializing them out as MDA. That side is graphics memory and address generation, so there are two ROMs which just contain test data, address counters here, and glue logic to switch ROMs in and out and such like. So what this allows it to do is define up to, I think it's up to 8 bands vertically on the screen. Each one of those can be graphics or text mode. This breadboard full of nonsense is implementing the text mode. There's a character generator ROM lurking in there somewhere, and then everything that goes along with that to support up to 16 scan lines per character. So it'll do a 90 by 35 text mode by default, and that does work. What I need to do is turn it into I need to turn the ROM board into a RAM board. I've done preliminary work on that and have that built, because it's going to need to be, I think, 4 layers just for routing reasons, because it's dual port SRAM I'm using for that to make life easier. It's hideously expensive, but bought it a few years ago. So once that's done, once that board is done, then I can get on with creating the boards that plug into it to implement the text mode and the actual scan out, which will be done in this style again, just for to match the rest of the system. That will all go in an expansion chassis which is upstairs, same size as this one, much plainer front panel. It just has the status LEDs, right? Has a bank of status LEDs, power and error I think over there, and a 3.5-inch floppy drive, which is an LS120 because that interfaces over IDE, so I can plug it into the IDE controller on this board. To get the expansion chassis finished, I need to build the boards that go at each end. One board in this end of the machine to extend the bus outwards to a matching board in the expansion chassis, and that will extend the entire memory bus so that I can put the video controller on that and this peripheral board in that. So all the most of the peripherals can live in that, and then there will be one serial port in the base system for use as a plain text only setup. So that's the broad strokes plan of what I've been wanting to do with System 1. It was about 2021 I got the 4th running on it properly to my satisfaction. Then I started work on all these other bits, and I had 3 or 4 sub-projects going on at once, and it just took over, and I ended up sort of completing none of them. Blue PC with gold silk screen. I think you could definitely get blue with yellow still from some suppliers. I think JLC will do you that one. If you want gold, blue with gold, then I think you might have to do blue with exposed traces and then ENIG on top. Yes, that might work. It might look good. So yeah, that's where we are with this. Software-wise, we currently have Forth working. There's an adaptation of Jones Forth, which for anybody interested in x86 assembly is a really good read. It's a literate programming worked example of doing Forth as a Linux executable written in 386 assembler. So I basically transliterated that into System 1 assembler, and it worked. When the hardware is working, it worked. So incoming ad break in 1 minute. Is there any news from Majenko over there? Because I am running out of nonsense to talk about. Let's have a look what's going in chat. Chloe, function keys should be red. Well, yes, but the keycaps on those are MT3 from Drop. I originally bought them when those were announced because they're in the style of IBM spherical bowl keyboards. They're really nice, brilliant to type on. And I bought the original set thinking if I'm ever stupid enough to build a keyboard for System 1, these will look nice on it. And then I put them on a random keyboard for testing and decided I liked them so much I had to buy another set for System 1 once I got around to building the keyboard. And the keyboard was basically a mistake. Well, not a mistake. It was happenstance. I went to Alecro's website looking to check I could order some PCBs. That's the house phone ringing, oh dear. Order some PCBs I wanted. One Easter, and they had a promotion up. Boards up to sort of 1 metre on a side, up to 2 layers for keyboard enthusiasts for, I think it was $10. It was like, yeah, you don't need to ask me twice. So it was a rush job to design the keyboard controller and the matrix, get that shipped off and built, and it all came together quite nicely. But then I had to buy the replacement set of keycaps because I wanted to use the ones I bought originally, which are in Olivetti colours, I think. So I bought some black ones to replace those on the black keyboard on my desk. And yeah, that's where we are with that. There were no red. Hang on. Okay, phone stopped. There were no red function keys in the set, unfortunately, just a red escape key. But anyway, I think Majenko is now up and running. I heard him being on Discord a moment ago. So I shall hand you over to him because I've thoroughly run out of things to say. I shall try and work out what on earth has gone wrong here, and we'll revisit it at some point. And then you can see it actually running code instead of embarrassing me. And yeah, you've just been thrown to ads, I see. So thanks for joining me. Thanks Cobb, thanks Jeepin. And I shall catch you on Tuesday for RC 2014 stuff, and next Friday for who knows what.